Every reign ends. Every crown passes. Every person who has ever worn the weight of a royal title, however earned, however contested, however extraordinary the journey that brought them to it, has had a last day. A day that began like any other, that carried no announcement, no formal signal, no palace-approved communication, telling those inside the walls that this was it, the last one, the day that would be the last day of everything Camilla built. We do not know when that day will come. Nobody knows. But we know with the particular, documented, sourced certainty that Northwire has spent months building what it will look like, what will happen in the hours after, what William will do, what Diana's memory will mean in those first extraordinary moments of a new reign, and what Camilla will face when the title she spent her entire adult life fighting for mine quietly, finally, completely, becomes past tense. This is the last day of Camilla's reign. Let me imagine it for you. Not with fiction, not with invention, with the specific, grounded, documented understanding of what this family does, and how this institution operates, when something this significant happens. The morning of Charles's death, whenever it comes, will begin for Camilla, the way most mornings begin, routine, the particular managed, palace-organized routine of a senior royal's day. Staff schedule, the careful movement through the hours of a life that has been institutionally organized for so long that the organization itself has become invisible. She will not know immediately, not because the palace will hide it from her, but because in those first moments, the information moves through channels, medical staff, senior advisors, the specific, predetermined protocol that has been in place for years, Operation Menai Bridge, that governs how the death of a king is managed in the first minutes and hours. There will be a moment, a specific, datable, historically significant moment when Camilla is told, and in that moment, two things will be true simultaneously. She will be a widow, and she will no longer be queen, both arriving together, in the same breath, in the same words, spoken by whoever delivers the news. I want you to understand the specific mechanics of what happens to Camilla's title in the moment Charles dies. Because this is not symbolic, this is institutional, legal, immediate. The title Her Majesty the Queen, which Camilla holds as Queen Consort, ceases, not through a formal removal ceremony, not through a decree or an announcement, through the simple, absolute, legally precise fact of succession. William becomes king the moment Charles dies, and a king's wife is queen. Catherine becomes Queen Consort in the same breath that William becomes king. There is no ceremony required. There is no transition period. There is no grace window, during which Camilla retains the formal standing of her title, while the paperwork catches up. She was queen, and then in the space between one heartbeat and the absence of the next, she was not. Former queen tech, the word former attaching itself to everything she is, permanently, irreversibly, without appeal or review or any institutional mechanism that could undo it. Camilla will spend the rest of her life with that word attached to her name. The hours that follow Charles's death, for Camilla, will be a process of understanding the full shape of what her life has now become, not immediately, not in the raw, grief-filled first hours, when loss is simply loss, and the institutional implications have not yet assembled themselves into something that can be processed. But in the days and weeks that follow, as the practical realities begin to arrive, the residence conversations, the patronage reviews, the staff reassignments, the security arrangements reconsidered, the formal, institutional, one-by-one removal of the infrastructure that Charles built around her, and that William has no obligation to maintain. Sources close to William describe a man who is prepared for this, with the same patient, systematic, nothing left to chance approach that has defined everything he has done. The decisions have been made, not in anger, not in haste, not in the reactive, emotional rush of someone finally given power and unable to control the impulse to use it without care, in the deliberate, considered, fully thought-through way of a man who has had years to decide exactly what the monarchy looks like after Charles, and what it does not include. In the first hours of his reign, before the formal ceremonies, before the accession council, before the press conferences, and the national tributes, and the vast, moving machinery of national mourning that will accompany Charles's death. William will act, sources close to him have described, a clear, consistent, unambiguous intention. The first formal act of his reign will be Diana, the posthumous restoration of her title, Her Royal Highness, Princess of Wales. The letters stripped from her in 1996, the institutional punishment that defined the palace's final position on the woman it could never contain, given back in a decree, in the formal language of royal record, in the permanent, institutional, historically significant document that will outlast everyone currently inside those walls. William has vowed this. Charles confirmed the same vow. And in those first hours, when Camilla is processing the grief of widowhood and the institutional reality of former queen, William will sign his name to the document that restores his mother's title. Diana will be Her Royal Highness again, before the coronation, before anything. This is the part of the story I want to approach with care, because Camilla is a human being, and the day Charles dies, whatever else it is, whatever institutional implications it carries, whatever it means for the monarchy, and for Diana's legacy and for everything William has been building, it will be the day she loses her husband, the man she loved, in whatever complicated, imperfect, 30 years of navigating an institution way. She loved him, the man who stood between her and the full force of what the royal family and the public would have brought to bear without him. He will be gone, and in his absence, Camilla will face, for the first time, the full weight of the institution, without his protection, without the informal influence, without the access to the person who controlled everything, without the presence that turned her borrowed power into something that felt, for a time, like the real thing. She will grieve, and she will grieve in the particular way of someone who loses a person and a position simultaneously, the loneliest kind of grief, the kind where the loss of the person and the loss of what the person gave you arrive together and cannot be separated. There is a specific image that I find myself returning to when I think about Camilla's last day. Not dramatic, not theatrical, not the kind of image that announces itself as historically significant. A woman sitting somewhere in a palace, in the hours after Charles has died, after the title has ceased, after the institutional machinery has begun its quiet, predetermined, nothing left to chance pivot toward the next reign. A woman who spent her whole adult life fighting for the right to be at the center of something extraordinary, who won in the most unexpected, against all odds, nobody would have predicted way, who wore the crown, and who now, in this specific, private, history-making moment, sits with the knowledge that the crown has passed to the son of the woman whose life she helped to break, who has spent 27 years preparing for exactly this moment, who has documents and records and a vow and a plan, who will, in his first hours as king, give Diana back her title, and who will spend his reign building the monarchy his mother always believed it could be. Camilla will be a footnote in that story, not nothing. Footnotes matter, they are part of the record. But a footnote in Diana's story, in William's reign, in the monarchy that carries her forward. The last day of Camilla's reign is coming. We do not know when, but we know how it ends. With Diana. It always ends with Diana. Drop a comment. When Camilla's last day comes, what do you think she will feel most? New video tomorrow. Same time. See you then.